When you think of places in the United States that focus on manufacturing, you might think of Pittsburgh or Detroit. But believe it or not, Kansas is right up there with them. Kansans know how to make stuff, and that makes Kansas globally competitive. Kansas exported $9.93 billion worth of goods overseas in 2011, and all of those items were made by 2,747 Kansas companies. During the 150 years that Kansas has been a state, Kansans have carved a name for themselves. When people think of Kansas, they think of farms, and rightly so because of our vast volume of wheat. Nearly a fifth of all wheat grown in the United States is grown in Kansas. We are the largest wheat-producing state in the nation, earning us the nickname breadbasket of the world. But farming isn't the only industry that Kansans and citizens of Wichita are known for. When people moved to Kansas in the late 19th century, they learned to work hard, or die, or leave. Those who stuck it out were strong. The entrepreneurial spirit that prompted Wichita's founding continued in the development of several companies that would rise to national prominence. From the start of Albert A. Hyde's development of mentholatum in 1889 to the latest craze to spring forth and start sweeping the nation, Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers in 2002. The spirit of entrepreneurship has thrived in Wichita since it first became a spot on the Chisholm Trail and continues to set the pace today. Let's take a look at a few of the companies that started in Wichita and some that still conduct their businesses here and call it home. From feeding you when you're hungry to keeping the lost on track, to entertaining the masses with a thrilling ride or taking home a souvenir from Disney, Wichitans touch the lives of people every day all over the world. We'll start in 1902 with W.C. Coleman. He came to Wichita selling lanterns. As electricity became more commonplace, Coleman increased its line to cover camping and recreation. Wichita learned what a slider was when White Castle hamburgers were introduced in 1921, more than 20 years before McDonald's. Vornado was becoming a leader in airflow technology for the emerging aircraft industry. In the 40s, they would introduce us to their famous Vornado fans. And Fred C. Koch developed an improved method of converting heavy oil into gasoline in 1927. The company would be reorganized 5 more times before it would begin to look like the start of the Coke industries we know in 1945. In 1932, orchestra leader Gage Brewer introduced the electric guitar to the world from Wichita using an instrument developed by what would later become known as the Rickenbacker Guitar Company. In 1958, two brothers, Dan and Frank Carney, borrowed $600 from their mother to open a pizza place. They only had room for 9 letters on their sign and felt their restaurant looked like a hut, so they opened their first ever Pizza Hut. In 1961, Chance Rides became incorporated. They would become the nation's largest designer and manufacturer of amusement rides, including trolleys, the world-famous ducks, roller coasters, and the Ferris wheel on Santa Monica Pier. Wichita was introduced to fast Mexican food in 1962 when Taco Tico came on the scene. Then in 1973, Thomas Devlin and Frank Barton came up with a way to help the working man who might not be able to get the items they would need for their home with Rent-A-Center stores. Started in 1979, Pioneer Balloon Company has offices in the U.S., United Kingdom and Europe, Australia, Canada, Mexico, and other places around the world, and is the world's largest manufacturer of latex party balloons. Dealing with brands like Marvel and Disney, they even manufacture those famous Mickey Mouse-shaped balloons you'll find in Disney parks today. And finally, Garment Industries started up in Wichita in 1989, creating GPS units and making sure you'll never get lost again. And those are just a few of the successful companies that have built a name in Wichita. Today, Wichita reflects the impact of each of these developments throughout its history. Evidence of these eras can still be seen in the city's architectural heritage, from the mansions of the early cattlemen to the industrial buildings of the 20th century. The spirit of those who built Wichita into a manufacturing, financial, educational, and cultural center lives on.